Nicaragua is a beautiful country nestled in the heart of Central America. Roughly the size of the state of New York, Nicaragua has a population of over 6 million people and growing. Remarkably, over half the population is under the age of 24, and about 1/4 of the population is below the age of 14. Some have called Nicaragua the nation of children. Nicaragua is a very poor country. It remains the least developed and poorest country in Central America, with the average Nicaraguan surviving on less than $2 a day. This country has been completely devastated by natural disasters such as earthquakes, droughts, and fires. Continuing political and economic unrest has taken its toll. While the economic need is great, the greatest need in Nicaragua is by far a spiritual one. Roman Catholicism still maintains its grip on the majority of Nicaraguans. At the center of nearly every major city lies a large, ornate cathedral that attracts thousands. Locals will frequent these churches to pray to idols and spend what little money they have on candles to burn incense to a God they don't even know. You can see it written all over their faces: despair, hopelessness, sadness, as they desperately look for the answer. Right now, as we speak, so many are lost and headed to a Christless eternity.
Hello, we are the Yates family. My name's Brett, my wife Jenny. We met while training at Bible college. I'm so thankful to have a beautiful wife to share in the same burden and passion for ministry. The Lord has done much in our lives to bring us to this point. Although I did not grow up in a Christian home, I was very blessed to have a godly grandmother who took my brothers and me to monthly church activities. It was there that I first heard and understood the gospel, and as a little boy, I received Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. In the years to follow, it was difficult to see any noticeable change, but I remember a very redefining moment that took place in my life when I was 17 years old. I had my whole life planned out up to this point, or so I thought. The Lord got my attention while attending a Christian camp. I remember surrendering everything to Him. It was amazing to see the changes take place in my life from that point. Most noticeably was the burden God gave for me concerning missions. I went off to Bible college not having a clue where God wanted me to go afterwards. Some of my family thought that I was foolish for becoming a missionary. But I'm reminded of what Charles Spurgeon said: if God has called you to be a missionary, don't stoop to be a king. I later graduated from Ambassador Baptist College with a degree and a burden for missions.
It's such a blessing to see how God orchestrates all the details in our lives together for His purpose. I came from a rough background of drugs, divorce, and abuse, but it's so wonderful to look back and see how God used all of that in my life so that I could hear the gospel. I didn't grow up in a Christian home and I hardly knew anything about the Bible. But when I was 10, a friend invited me to an Awana service at her church. For the first time in my life, I rode a bus and went to a Baptist church and got saved the first night I ever heard. It was through that same church that I was able to go to camp, and there I surrendered my life to the Lord when I was 14. Shortly after that, the Lord began to impress upon my heart that He wanted me to be a missionary.
It's tremendous to see God use our background, our ministry experience, and even our desires to prepare us for the work that He has for us in Nicaragua. I think back to mission trips that I've taken to 6 different countries. I think of traveling 2 summers as an evangelist, working with young people. We've spent 2 summers working on the administration of a Christian camp, hoping to take that type of ministry to Nicaragua. Even my involvement at my home church in song leading, children's church, teaching, preaching, personal soul winning have all helped tremendously.
The Lord also gave us the opportunity to visit Nicaragua on an 8-week survey trip the end of summer 2015. There, we were able to see the great opportunity in Nicaragua. My husband had the privilege of teaching in a Bible college and mentoring the young preachers there. We also had 2 opportunities to teach them how to run a youth rally. The first one was in a very poor neighborhood, and by the end we had over 40 children, most of whom have never heard the gospel before. The second one was in a public school. The school gave us an hour and a half to play games with the children and to preach the gospel freely. A few were saved and all went home with Bible tracts. We were also able to pass out Bible tracts right in the middle of the town square. The people were so eager to hear the truth, we had them coming up asking us for tracts. The people of Nicaragua are searching for something different, something to fulfill their lives, and we know that satisfaction can only be found in the gospel of Christ.
Our plans are to begin work in Matagalpa, one of the largest cities in Nicaragua, while attending language school for a year. After language school, our primary goal is to plant churches. While we were in the country of Nicaragua, we were able to see many young people get saved, but our heart broke as we realized there was no church to send them to, no one to disciple them. That is why we are so passionate about planting churches. There are 2 aspects to the Great Commission: preaching the gospel and discipling believers. We believe that the local church is the New Testament model for carrying out both of these aspects and the Lord's primary plan for reaching this lost and dying world. An important aspect to planting churches is training young men who are committed to do the work of the ministry. In 2 Timothy 2:2, Paul clearly instructs us to teach faithful men who will be able to teach others also. In short, we just count it a blessing to be used by God and a privilege to serve Him. We would love to partner with you in reaching Nicaragua with the gospel of Christ. Would you consider supporting us not only financially, but prayerfully?